Hi everybody, welcome to video number 39. Now today we're talking about soulmates. Are they real and is it just two words? And what's the difference between a soul connection and a soulmate? Well, let's talk about that, shall we? Now let's talk first of all about soul connections. How many of you watching this video has heard the saying, they're an old soul? You know, somebody that you feel like has been here before. And especially in children, we think that they're so advanced sometimes that the elders of the family will say, that's an old soul right there. They've been here before. Well, this is where soul connections come into our world. Now, in past videos, you heard me talk about, especially when we did the video all about love, how people come into our life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Right? Now, I'm not going to stand here today and try and convince you about anything other than what I'm talking about. You're obviously a believer in this kind of thing, otherwise you wouldn't be watching the video today. So let's talk about the difference then of soul connections, right? Soul connections literally can be anybody, from a loved one, from as in a friendship or as in a family member, you know, or it could actually be a relationship that you've actually found yourself in. But there's a difference between a soul connection and a soul mate. So what do I mean by that? Soul connections can come in and can absolutely explode your world. You can meet somebody and the passion that you can experience with that individual can be mind-blowing. So much so that we think, oh, this is it. I found my soulmate. This is a connection I've never felt before. Well, there comes in with a massive, massive question, right? Sometimes we misinterpret that soul connection for the deeper rooted love of the soulmate. And a lot of the time, what you'll find is with these soul connections, they can come and go. And yeah, it can be really confusing because when we think we've met our soulmate, then all of a sudden it falls apart. It leaves us with the fundamental question of, well, what was the purpose for them coming in the first place? You might have had some old soul duty to deal with from a past life. So you may needed to shut that chapter with that person in this life. No, that doesn't make it easy. No, it doesn't take away the heartache that we experience when we have those soul connections, because they can be incredible, but yes, they can end in disaster. And sometimes we're left picking up the pieces of that. Now, people say, but how can a family member be a soulmate? You have your blueprint. You all get to choose where you go in this world from the moment that you're born. And you may have that your siblings or your cousins or your aunts or your uncles may have been in a past life with you. That's why you're connecting stronger in this life. So, you know, there's many different ways you can look at that, but that's my interpretation of the soul connection that you can have with people around you. And yes, they can actually be your best friends, that you follow each other into this world and cause all different types of mischief. So let's look at the difference between that now and soulmates, right? What stands out the most, the key things that stand out that make you recognize the difference between a soul connection and a soulmate? When you have, you know, the fortune of meeting a soulmate, you share such an unbelievable connection, and it's almost like as if it's an unspoken language that you have with each other. It's like as if your soul is saying, I know you. I know exactly who you are, and now you're back standing right in front of me, and now you're back in my world again. You know, it's also a massive emotional, the ultimate emotional security that you can feel. When you're with a soulmate, you feel safe. You know that that person's not going to do anything to hurt you. That is your ultimate sense of safety that you know is going to last. You don't have the fear of that relationship coming to an end, right? Then you look at how authentic you can be when you're around that person. Oh my gosh, You get to be the real version of yourself. How often in past relationships can any of you say that that's always been the case? It doesn't. Because when we try to make a relationship work, when we try to put a square peg in a round hole, just because we want certain relationships to work, we change, we adapt. Well, when you meet the soulmate, you can be your authentic self because they will love you inside and out, warts and all, for the good, the bad, and the ugly. So knowing that you can be yourself with somebody is a massive indicator that you don't need to change because they do accept you for who you are. Whatever you do for your job, whoever you are as a person, you can feel that it feels real, right? And then what we look at is the mutual effect. What do I mean by that? The mutual effect that you have with a soulmate is where there's both of you making that effort. It's not a one-way street. Relationships should never be a one-way street. It should be where you don't give to receive. You hear me say that a lot. But relationships has to be a two-way street. You've got to be able to give. But when you get that soulmate, they give not because you're asking them to do, because they know that it's the right thing to do. They want the relationship to work just as much as you. So that's huge. And the final thing when it comes to soulmate is, I don't care what anybody says, your soul knows. Your soul just has never ever let you down. And when you look at this video and you look back at past situations that you may have thought you'd had the soulmate, but instead it was a soul connection and it didn't work out, now with time you recognize that and go, I get it. No, you didn't at the time. But when the soulmate comes in, your soul just goes ding, 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 ding. It's you. Now, if you're lucky enough, you can actually get to experience not only the soulmate, but the true love. Because they, again, are two different things. But if you find that soulmate that provides you with the true love that you've been wanting and desiring, and deservedly so, then that's what we call the magic. And if you do have that in your life right now, absolutely cherish it and make memories and enjoy spending the rest of this life together. And who's to say you might not end up in another life together? But I hope this has given you a clearer understanding of the difference between soul connection and soulmate. And I hope all of you watching out there that are looking for your soulmate, that you find it too. Now, if you do want a little bit of guidance on that, you can go on to www.criswick.co.uk and you can purchase a spiritual session with me, and we can see exactly when you can expect those lovely things to come into your world. I hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll see you all on the next one.